All right, so let's keep going with all of our quadratic characteristics today. We have to find our roots, our axis of symmetry, our vertex, our y-intercept, and we're going to sketch our graphs with all those 5 points and then determine our domain and range. So let's practice all that again. Remember, you should probably have your formula sheet ready. So let's go ahead and go through the whole process here. So we've got to start with our roots. So let's start with our b squared minus 4ac. So 6 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times 3. And let's see how many roots we actually have. All right. So we need to put in our 6 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times 3. That gives me 72. Okay, so I know that my discriminant is 72. That means I'm going to have 2 roots. And let's go ahead and find them. So negative b plus or minus, I got to put my square root of 72 in there. 2 over a, so negative 3 and my 6. Well, the square root of 72 is 8.5. So negative 6 plus or minus 8.5 over negative 6. Okay, and remember, that breaks into negative 6 plus 8.5 over negative 6 and negative 6 minus 8.5 over negative 6. So that's just calculator work. So negative 6 plus 8.5 divided by 2.5 divided by negative 6 is negative 4.2. Or excuse me, negative 0.42. So negative 0.4. So there's our first ordered pair. And then our second one, if we change this to a minus sign, that's negative 14.5. Negative 14.5 divided by the negative 6 gives me 2.4. So x is going to equal 2.4. So 2.4, 0, and negative 0.4. So I'm going to go ahead and put those points on here. And remember, it's an estimate. They're both going to be kind of in the middle. Okay? All right. Let's keep going by finding our vertex. So the vertex, the x value is negative b over 2a. So negative b, that would be negative 6 over 2 times a negative 3. Well, negative 6 over negative 6 is going to give me a positive 1. So my vertex, the x value is 1. Okay, the x value is 1. Let's go ahead and find the y value. So the y value, remember, is negative b squared plus or divided by 4a plus c. So negative squared 4 plus the c. So the 3 needs to go here, the 6 goes here, the negative 3 goes here. So remember, this number is always going to be negative. So that's negative 36 divided by a negative 12 plus 3. So negative 36 divided by negative 12, that's 3. 3 plus 3 is going to be 6. So the y value of my vertex is 6. So I know that my point is 1, 6. There's my vertex. Okay, now there's a couple things that I should kind of think about at this point. So first of all, I notice that a is negative, so this would be a frown. And that should make sense because so far, I can see the shape is going to be a frown. Okay, I also need to look to make sure that I didn't make any mistakes with my signs. So your vertex should be in between the 2 roots, and it is. If it's not, then I did something wrong and I need to go back and find where I lost my negative. Okay, so at this point, the rest of the work is really easy. The intercept is 0c. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, 3. So I can put that point right here. And I know if there's a point there, I can find its matching point here. Okay? Now, my axis of symmetry, I know that that has to go through my vertex. So it's x equals, the value of my vertex was 1. So the equation is x equals 1. And that is a dashed line. So I'm going to draw a dashed line through my axis, through my vertex. And you'll see it's crossing right here at -1. That's why that is a -1. All right, so at this point, I actually can sketch my graph. I can sketch my graph because I have all the points that I'm going to have on there, okay? And then from there, I can do my domain and range. So I know domain is real numbers because it's not a word problem. My range, I see I have a maximum because A is negative. Okay, A is negative, so I know that I'm going down from there. So range is going to be real numbers less than or equal to, and where's that line? It's at 6. So I'm less than or equal to 6. Okay, let's try another one. Go ahead and hit pause. See if you can come up with all your values here and kind of sketch yourself a graph. And let's practice this a little bit more. Okay, let's do b squared minus 4ac. So I have a -6, a +3, and a -1. So I'm going to go back up here to this one, throw in a -6. I have my 4. I need to make that a 3, and this a -1. So you can see I have 48 this time. Okay, so that's 48. That means I have 2 roots, so I need to find them. So plus or minus the square root of 48, 2 over the 3, and my -6 is going to go here. So if I take the square root of 48, I get 6.9. So negative is positive, plus or minus 6.9 over 6. Okay, and again, we're just adding and subtracting those numbers. So 6 plus 6.9 is 12.9 divided by 6. So 12.9 divided by 6 is going to give me 2.2. So 2.2 comma 0 is my first one. And if I subtract 6 minus 6.9, I get -0.9 as my value, and that is going to give me a -0.2. So -0.2 comma 0. So let's put those points on here. And 2.2. All right, let's find our vertex. So our vertex should be between those two numbers. So again, we've got -b over 2a. So negative, our b is -6, and that's a 3. So negative is positive. So 6 over 6 is going to give me, again, a +1. So the first value, x is 1, which makes sense because that's going to be halfway between those two. And now let's go ahead and find the y value. Remember, this one has 3 parts, and that top part is always negative. And 4 times 3, and a -1. So we've got -36, a 12, and a -1. So this is a -3 plus a -1. That's going to give me a -4. Okay, that's going to give me a -4. So let's look at where that ends up on our graph and decide if that makes sense. So 1, -4 is going to roll me right there. So right now, what I see is that my graph is going to be a smile. Is that logical? Yes, because my A is +3. And I see that this point is between these two numbers. Okay, so that tells me my vertex is right on. Intercept, that's really easy. 0, -1, because that's my C value. And again, if I have a point here, that means I also have a point there. So I can actually add an extra point in there if I want to. My axis has to go through the x value. So x equals 1. Remember, that's a dashed line coming up here through x equals 1. Remember, that's an undefined slope. And then from there, I am sketching my graph. Okay, so I have my graph coming down and going back up. And I can finish up my domain and range. So domain is real numbers. We know that one. This is a bottom, so it's a minimum because A is positive. Now the range is going to be real numbers greater than or equal to because it's going up. And where did I turn around at? I turned around at -4. Remember, these two values have to match. The y value and the range value have to match. Okay, so see what you can do today. Reach out to us if you're struggling, and we'll do a little bit more work on this again tomorrow, and then we will move on.